satisfy the cauldron's hunger.
It is time, once again, to put the villains of the Disney canon on trial. And today, we're finishing up the Bronze Era. We've got everything from kings, to crime lords, to hunters on today's docket. So without further introduction, it's time for the sentencing to begin. I'm Andrew with Wicked Binge, and this is sentencing Disney villains for their crimes. Let's get right into the 80s as we embark on their first film of that decade, The Fox and the Hound. First up is the ill-tempered and hot-headed hunter, Amos Slade. Slade isn't exactly a villain in the usual way we expect from Disney villains, but he still engages in some criminal acts during this film. Most notably, he is guilty at times of animal cruelty. He goes after Todd after his dog Chief is hit by a train, with the main intent of killing him. He tries to kill Todd several times throughout the film, actually. Even after he's attacked by a bear, Slade doesn't give up his pursuit of revenge. However, Slade does have a heart that most Disney villains don't. After Copper defends Todd, Slade decides to let him live, as he can now see that the two really are the best of friends. Though we don't get a lot in the way of exploration as to what he's like after this, it seems safe to say that he's become far nicer to all animals, especially foxes. Because of this redemption, Amos Slade gets out of strict punishment and walks into the cozy confines of house arrest. Honestly, this is probably the exact thing Amos is in need of. Getting away from the hunting trails and all that might help him better clear his mind. Besides, some time to rest in a house is definitely what he needs after his encounter with that bear. While Slade is the central antagonist of The Fox and the Hound, he's not alone in his hunting travels. Accompanying him is the next character to come before the stand, Chief, Slade's oldest and best trained hunting dog. Chief is very much like a dark analog to Copper. In essence, he is what Copper could become if he really did leave behind his friendship with Todd. Chief also embodies a lot of Slade's traits, both positive and negative ones. He is obsessed with pleasing his master, and that is primarily personified in his attempts to kill Todd, making him guilty of attempted murder. As bad as that is, Chief, just like his owner, does have a conscience. After Amos changes his mind about Todd, so too does Chief. Like him, we don't get to see much of what he's like after this evolution, but we are sure it's a good one. Since Chief is a lot like Amos in the many ways a dog is usually reflective of their owner, we think it's only fitting that Chief also gets put on house arrest. A dog needs company the same way their owner does, so it wouldn't feel right to keep him and Amos apart. And since Slade looks to be turning a new leaf, one can only hope Chief will be able to do the same under this sentence. We're about to enter a realm of fantasy and magic as we journey to the next film of the day, the cult classic The Black Cauldron. There's only one major villain in this film, but he's easily one of the most evil and fearsome in all of the Disney canon. Everyone, please welcome the Horned King to the stand. The Horned King has one goal on his mind, the classic villainous desire of taking over the entire world. To do so, he seeks out the titular Black Cauldron, which he wants to help raise his undead army that will then ensure the world falls to him.
Arise, my messengers of death.
On his behalf, his soldiers terrorize and kill any they encounter, making him instantly guilty of both murder and terrorism. He later kidnaps the film's heroes and subjects them to torture, adding 2 more charges to his list of offenses. Even cute little farm animals are not safe from the wrath of the Horned King. His terrorizing of the pig Henwen is proof of that. If the king sees something that can help him get the cauldron, he will take it, no matter how drastic the measures are to get it. With all of this in mind, we cannot justify giving the Horned King anything other than the death penalty. The Horned King poses a threat to all life on Earth, and as long as he is around, that will continue to be true. This isn't at all a character who can be rehabilitated or locked away, so the options are rather limited for him. How the act will be carried out is debatable, but in all honesty, we can't think of a worse fate than the one he endured at the end of this film. It's time to head towards London for our next film, The Great Mouse Detective. Gentlemen, give a big round of applause, or boos, to our next criminal, Ratigan. Ratigan is as deliciously evil as Disney villains come, a fact that he is very proud of. How proud of his villainy is he? He gladly sings about committing murder. He loves being evil, and few in this round of villains have come even close to how bad this rat is. Not only has he committed murder in the past, but he also tries on multiple occasions to kill Basil, Dawson, and Olivia. He kidnapped Olivia as well, who he then used as leverage to get her father to work for him.
Allow me to present your charming daughter.
From just that sentence, we can go ahead and add kidnapping, blackmail, and slavery to his charges. His most devious plot, however, is to get rid of the queen so that he can become the ruler of Mousedom. This means that he has committed the act of treason, something you can't say about anyone else we'll cover today. With such an insane list of crimes, the only punishment that fits in this scenario is again the death penalty. Like the Horned King, Ratigan isn't a villain who can be changed or rehabilitated. That's the last thing on his mind for sure. If given the opportunity, he will almost certainly go back to his criminal roots. And after trying to overthrow a monarchy, who knows what other horrible things he could do. With a villain who is as savage as they come, it seems appropriate that Ratigan's punishment will be just as barbaric as he is. To the mousetrap he goes. Next up is Ratigan's assistant, Fidget, a bat who can't exactly fly. Fidget isn't as smart or as charismatic as Ratigan, but he's every bit as evil as he is. First off, like any good henchman, Fidget aids his boss in each and every one of his schemes. He becomes guilty of kidnapping when he captures Olivia's father, setting in motion both Ratigan's plot and the plot of the movie. He stalks Olivia during a large portion of the film until she too is kidnapped by him. Of course, Fidget doesn't just waltz into these places to find his targets. He breaks into them, adding a 5th criminal charge to his list. Fidget might not be the antagonist that Ratigan is, but he's far from being innocent or incompetent. Because of that, he gets himself the first life sentence in the video. His smaller role in Ratigan's plot spares him from the sentence Ratigan got, but at the end of the day, he was still heavily involved in the attempted overthrow of a government. Is that a guy you really want to see walking free? As we reach the end of the Bronze Age, let's take a trip to Manhattan for this video's final film, Oliver & Company. Continuing this video's trend of ruthless villains, we have the criminal overlord known as Bill Sykes. In the film, his main concern is to make sure that Fagin, an associate of his, pays him back the money he owes him. Sykes makes it clear that he is not to be toyed with, and when he catches wind that Fagin's plan of paying him back has changed, he quickly kidnaps the innocent girl Jenny, who he then uses as bait to acquire a fortune from her rich parents.
You just get the old man on the phone and tell him it's about his daughter.
That alone puts both child abuse and kidnapping on his criminal record. Beyond that, he also harms Oliver and his friends during the rescue of Jenny, showing that he's just as mean toward animals as he is toward children. He's also not above torture, a fact best shown early in the film when he meets with Fagin, a criminal mastermind in every sense of the word. Sykes is yet another individual who has earned himself a life sentence. Bill Sykes was already bad enough when you look at just his offenses in the film, but when you think about all the things he's done outside of the movie, it becomes harder and harder to think that he should ever see the outside world again. It looks like the only place he'll be ruling in New York anytime soon is his own jail cell. We might be done with the Bronze Age, but we've got one more bonus film to cover, just for you. Let's take a trip to Australia as we look at the foes of the Rescuers Down Under. Hey, it is a sequel to a Bronze Era film after all. Up first is the film's main bad guy, the poacher Percival C McLeod. Right from the start, that's already one crime we can pin on this villain. McLeod is a lot like this film's equivalent to Madame Medusa from the original, so he understandably commits many of the same atrocities. For example, he's guilty of child abuse through his kidnapping of the boy Cody. However, unlike Medusa, he actually tries to kill Cody, showing that he's even more vile than she was. He's not any nicer to animals either, in case the poaching thing didn't tip you off. Not only does he harm the rescuers themselves, but he also goes after the rare eagle known as Marahute.
The rarest bird in the world. That bird's gonna make me rich.
Considering the status of this eagle, it really shows that to Percival, nothing is sacred. If there's something that can get him fame or fortune, he will do it, even if it harms a rarely seen species. Because of all of his crimes, though especially this one, McLeod is another villain who gets the unfortunate distinction of being sentenced to death. This punishment will likely be carried out via lethal injection, as nothing in the film indicates it to be a period piece. But even that will probably not come close to all the harm he has caused wildlife for years. All in all, it looks like the only thing that will become extinct anytime soon is McLeod himself. Just like Madame Medusa had Brutus and Nero, Percival has the next villain we'll be looking at, Joanna. McLeod's pet lizard, Joanna is a lot like many of the other sidekicks we've looked at in this series. She aids her boss in his many criminal activities, just like any other sidekick. It sort of comes with the territory at this point. Aside from that, she does engage in a few criminal acts of her own. She helps him kidnap Cody, and also steals the eggs of Marahute. With 3 charges under her forked tongue, we have to give Joanna a decade in the doghouse. Since she's a lot less involved and not as sharp as McLeod is, we can't quite justify giving her the same sentence he got. And maybe, just maybe, 10 years away from McLeod and hunting animals will be enough to get her to turn over a new leaf. Or shed a new skin, I guess the term should be.